Hey y'all. So, as some of you might know, I am working on being a doula, being a certified doula, and there's a lot of stuff I am learning and have been learning for a while now about birth and postpartum, and I think I'm going to do maybe a little mini series where I share some of these things that have stood out to me that I feel like a number of people don't know. A number of women don't know. People. Yeah. So I think we'll start today. One of those is don't push. And I know that sounds yeah. So, labor, childbirth is not supposed to be painful. I know. Calm down. Hold on to your seats and just listen to this, okay? It's not supposed to be painful. Yes, it is an intense experience, and those contractions can feel like pain to a certain extent, yeah, for sure. And it can be very intense, and it's like, apart from you giving birth to a whole human being, as a mother, you have also been given birth to. Like, you are born again, especially after you give birth. I feel like birth is a very spiritual experience. Yeah, but we're not going to go into all that detail yet. Anyway, point is, society has conditioned women to be afraid of childbirth and labor. Like, we have been conditioned to fear it. We see there's so much fear mongering that goes around with regards to childbirth and labor. You hear people screaming, "Oh no, it's so painful." You never experienced. It's just a lot of fear mongering. So there's a lot of fear mongering with regards to childbirth and labor. And it is that fear, let me tell you, before I go into do not push, it's the fear of childbirth, the fear of labor, because of everything that you have been taught to believe about it. You develop this fear, and it is that fear which you go into your childbirth or labor that causes you to feel a lot of the pain that you feel. I know that sounds very really crazy. Yeah, it is. Like, fear is very powerful. It's a very powerful, is it an emotion? Yeah, it's a very powerful emotion that can actually increase the pain or increase whatever it is you're feeling physically in your body times 10. You see, so going into childbirth without fear is where it's at. So now let's go to the don't push. I think we'll talk about that one a little later. But the don't push is don't push. Pushing is actually also what causes pain. That is why you feel pain when you're pushing. You're not supposed to push. Your body already knows what to do. And if you're going to push intentionally, that is, because your body, with the contractions that you're feeling, especially when you're just about to give birth, with those contractions, the contractions are what push the baby out of you. That's why they're contractions. Contraction is contract, Yeah, so that's what pushes the baby out of you. And so if you're going to push intentionally, you need to push with the contraction. Don't push when you're not having a contraction. And this is why when you get things like an epidural, I think it's a bit tricky because you're not feeling anything there. But anyway, point is, don't push. When you push, the likelihood of you feeling pain heightens. The likelihood of you tearing. Yes, so the likelihood of you tearing heightens as well when you are pushing outside of the contraction. Yeah, so that's just one tip. And I know if this might be very, very new to a number of you. And I just urge you, if you're a woman who plans on giving birth, who has given birth before and you didn't have the most pleasant experience, and you plan on giving birth again, like having a child again, just remember this, and it wouldn't hurt to try it and believe it for your next birth. Like, what would it hurt? Yeah. And it's also obviously very hard to believe me and listen to me because I have never had a child before yet. But I will tell you that for the longest time, I was part of the crowd of women, obviously, who are afraid of childbirth. It's like, oh, childbirth. You hear that in the Bible. It talks about, oh, in what? In pain you shall bring forth children. Even though that scripture does not mean that. And again, that is something we'll talk about another time. But like that scripture has been, oh my goodness. It doesn't even mean that. It doesn't even mean that, you guys. I was just like, wow. Anyway, we'll talk about that another time. So I was one of those people who used to also fear, obviously. But now, firstly, number one, I'm looking forward to giving birth. I'm looking forward to being pregnant and giving birth in the near future. So yeah. And then also, even though I haven't given birth and had the experience of childbirth and labor, I don't want to compare the contractions of childbirth with the like period cramps, but basically even when you're cramping on your period, your uterus is also contracting. Okay, let's go to the next video. So I was saying, when you're cramping on your period, your uterus is also contracting. And after learning this about childbirth and contractions and whatnot, and how you don't push with a contraction, because you push, if you're going to push intentionally, push with the contraction. Don't push when you're not contracting and your body knows what to do. It contracts and pushes itself. You don't need to do anything intentionally. And how it can be intense, but you can't necessarily describe that as painful. I tried it with my period. So I had really bad cramps. I don't have cramps anymore, to be honest, because I think I've done a lot of work with regards to my womb, sacral chakra. But we're not talking about that. But so I don't have any cramps at all. And the last time I had cramps, I remember I hadn't had cramps in a while. I don't know, they came back. I don't know. Anyway, but they came back and I was cramping. And usually when you are cramping, and also even in childbirth, I believe, when you're cramping, you tense yourself up. Like you, as women, or at least I know I do, when you are having a cramp, you like almost like brace yourself and tense yourself up to like hold it, like almost like to stop it, but like you get tense trying to go through the cramp. I decided not to do that anymore. I decided to lean into the cramp. I know that sounds so weird, but like I leaned into the cramp. Like I didn't tense myself up. I just kind of like leaned into it. Like go with the flow, like go with the motions, like not be so scared of it that I need to tense myself up. I would just like lean into it and just like go with it. And honestly, it wasn't painful. I don't know how to describe that, but like it wasn't pain. It's so weird. So I don't know how to describe that, but it was not pain. When I leaned into my cramp and just went with it, like flowed with the motion of the cramp, and for however long the cramp lasted, I managed my cramps way better. Like I didn't feel it wasn't painful. It was just, I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but like it wasn't pain. So yeah, all that, I was giving you that example because even though I haven't experienced contractions of birth before, I've definitely experienced cramps. And even though the intensity of cramps is not nearly as much as that of childbirth, I don't think so. Using the same concept during childbirth of leaning into your contraction instead of tensing up and bracing yourself up while you are contracting is very helpful and is the key to you having a pain-free childbirth, a pain-free labor. Yeah. And again, this might just really be like a lot, but roll with me here. And the next time, again, I'll be sharing on something else. I think I'll end here. I hope you all have a lovely, what's the time? Afternoon and evening. Bye.